And the church said, Amen. Nadine knew she had trouble with her knees. Long before physical therapy had floors and wings in hospitals that were dedicated for those of us who have ailments, there were things called swing bed hospitals. Some of us have heard of a swing bed, a place you might go to recover. Nadine was suffering under a great deal of distress. For many, many years, she had knee problems. They were giving her so much ailment and problem, sometimes she just couldn't even walk up steps. The doctor said to her, Nadine, we probably ought to do both knees eventually. And she said, well, what would it take to do them both now? Well, after the surgeries were over, she began to question that decision that she made, having both knees operated on at the same time. She had one of those devices that moved her legs up and down. If you've been in a hospital room or you're in the medical career profession, you will know that those machines help the body already. Before she could move to the swing bed area of the hospital, though, her nurse, her doctor, everyone that was tending to her said, Nadine, you have to stand up. You have to walk. And so one day, the nurse came in to her and she said, Nadine, this is a good day to stand up. So Nadine did stand up. And she did make her way to the swing bed area, and she did get the therapy that she needed, and she eventually got home. Both of her knees healed quickly. Some of us have come today here to this place and are listening at home on KAYS radio or on the internet, and we have a situation in our lives. We have a physical problem. We have things that are weighting us down. Last week we talked about letting go of those things that weigh us down. The Messiah here in chapter 13 of Luke is once again encouraging us, inviting us to stand up, to let go of some of those things that cause us to become ill, infirmed. And it's not just about physical ailments. It's about the emotional ailments. It's about the mental anguish. Maybe it's the economic anguish that we are experiencing. Whatever it is for you, consider this invitation today to let yourself be thrust completely into the arms of the Messiah. All my trials are nothing when I let God be God. Remind yourself and help me remember what's going on with the Messiah and those first faith followers. You might recall that about a month and a half ago, I began looking at the Messiah's journey. It was a cool journey. It is a cool journey. It's a wonderful thing. And Luke explores that from about Luke 9 to the present, Luke 13. Help me remember that along that journey, Jesus and the first faith followers went on to the other side of the Jordan River, onto the other side of the Sea of Galilee, maybe about as many as 32 miles south and east of the Sea of Galilee. So somewhere out there, they found a man who was chained to a tomb area, who was a wild man, a crazy man. He had been consumed. The Gospel of Luke says, possessed by a spirit. And so Jesus and the first faith followers go to him, and he's howling out there in the tomb area. Leave me alone. Leave us alone, is what he says. And Jesus said to him, who is us? And he said, we are many. We are legion. Jesus and the disciples eventually make their way up to the Sea of Galilee, up in the northern part of Israel, and they cross over the Sea of Galilee. And they make their way to Capernaum, Peter's hometown. Jesus was very familiar with that area, and so Jesus and the disciples made their way to an area just outside of Capernaum, spending time in the synagogues and teaching people in the countryside. Jesus invited his first faith followers to go out in twos to spread the news of what they had been seeing, experiencing. So those disciples went willingly. 72 in all went out in pairs. Those individuals went out into the villages, into the small hamlets, spreading the news of who this Jesus of Nazareth was, what he could do for you, what he could do with you, what he could do around you. So the individuals in those small villages and hamlets begin to understand themselves very much wanting to meet up with this wise one, this rabbi, this teacher, this Messiah, this, the Christ. I want some of what he has. So it's not a mistake, is it, that this woman who had been stooped over for 18 years, she had been consumed, she had been framed, she had been defined as someone who was stooped over all of her life, walking slowly, walking with a great deal of pain. It's no wonder that she had heard who this Messiah was. The news had spread all throughout the land. Jesus is in town, the one who can heal everything, the one who can take your pain away. Not just physical pain, your spiritual pain. Jesus, the one who is radical, the one who the synagogue leaders are out to get. This Messiah is in town today. It's time for you to make your way to the synagogue. She made her way into the synagogue, and as probably was the case, women were not allowed into the synagogue, much less a woman like her, a woman who was stooped over, a woman who was not right. Some of us feel like we're not right. Some of us feel maybe not so much that we're stooped over. Maybe we feel somebody's looking at us. Maybe in our families, maybe in our work environments, that we're just not accepted, or we don't accept ourselves the way we are. God created us, who we are. It is time to let the Messiah welcome us. That's what the woman was experiencing. She knew she had this moment. This was her time. She needed to present herself to the Messiah. So she did so by coming into the temple, by coming into the synagogue, which she would have had to have made her way through. People were not willing to let her into the temple. People were not willing to let someone like her in. She made her way in. And she didn't go right up to the Messiah and say, I understand that you are a person who can fix me, who can heal me, who can make me okay. She didn't do that. She just was there. Maybe you are there. Maybe you're not going right up to the Messiah. Maybe you're not going right up to the front and saying, fix me, make me well, make me complete. Make me comfortable with who I am. Maybe that's not who you are. Maybe you are not that type of person. Maybe you're sitting back, waiting for the Messiah to say something, to touch you, to impress upon you, to redefine who you are. Maybe that's who you are right now. The Messiah understood that this was a woman who needed to be redefined. By outward appearances, maybe. By inward appearances, certainly. And so the Messiah